Hello and welcome back to the DoneDeal YouTube channel. I'm David OC and today we're joined by motoring journalist and very knowledgeable car enthusiast Bob Flavin, and we're going to have a bit of a discussion because I'd argue that the small SUV is potentially one of the ways to go if you've got a family and you want to do a bit of driving, but Bob's taking something a little bit smaller.
Yeah, I think the small SUV, there's a lot of them on the road, everybody seems to be buying one now, but actually there's good value, or seems to be good value, in the 5-door hatchback for the family as well, so we need to figure out which one's which. That
said, these two cars are more or less the exact same price.
Yeah.
The Clio is very well spec'd up.
This is a hybrid one now as well. Now this doesn't have any cords, it's just a standard hybrid one. But this one is over 29,000 euro.
Which is crazy because this is just under 29,000 euros. And this has no fancy hybrid system, which is why it's maybe that little bit better value in some way. But it does have a really nice punchy 130 horsepower petrol engine, 3-cylinder. And sometimes the old school is nice to drive, and I certainly think this looks absolutely fantastic.
If I went on looks alone, it goes to that easily, because the Clio looks a little bit aged now as well. It's been around for a few years. Looking at this, I know this is a facelift one, but it has been around the block for a while, but it's still really, really popular.
It is, and to be fair, Renault have given their best effort with the little blue bits, the stripe for added speed, a few different things like that.
Yeah. It does look like it goes faster just standard, but all the chrome, they do chrome a lot. A lot of French companies do that, so there's chrome around all the doors, chrome on the bottom here to make it look a little bit more bright. But it's powered by a 1.6 litre petrol engine, combined to a 1.2 kilowatt hour battery unit, so you get a hybrid feel. Now it's not a plug-in hybrid, just a hybrid version, just standard, so the engine cuts in and out as you drive down the road. Very,
very nice. Now I actually am thinking, as I'm standing here and walking to and from my car, I think this could do with a mild hybrid system itself, just to power these mirrors as I unlock and lock it.
Every time you walk
Keyless
around.
entry.
Yeah, this can have that as well. For 29 grand, I would expect absolutely everything on this car.
Everything in the book.
There is a lot of kit in this car, but it's still just under 30 grand, which is a lot of money for a 5-door hatch.
It's a lot of money. Anyway, we are going to explore these two cars, so make sure to subscribe if you'd like to search for family cars for sale on DoneDeal. From over 1,000 trusted dealers, you can hit the link on the top right hand side of the screen. But for now, Bob, let's get into it, do a bit of a walk around of each car and see which one we think might be the better option when it comes to buying a hatchback or a small SUV.
Or a car that opens and closes itself.
It is going 90 here, isn't it?
Every time you do it.
Next time I'm not leaving the key in my pocket. No, open now. After all that, I'm going to walk away.
An insult now.
Walk back in. And I'm gone. I'll see you later.
Just to walk away and walk back in again.
As we open it up, not gonna lie, there was a little bit of worry that the door wouldn't open, but over here there's a protector here, which means when you're climbing in, if you brush your leg off there, it's been kept clean by the door, which is really nice. And when you sit into the Mokka, it's very vibrant. In fact, in many ways, it reminds me of like a funky coffee shop, which is ironic with the name. But overall, the red trim really adds to it. Now, I think if it was fully black, it would be a little bit dull in here. Similarly enough with the Crossland, which we reviewed recently. So it was really, really nice, but I just thought it was a little bit dull. Now this is a step up massively. And in fact, compared to the first generation Mokka, this is a whole new thing. So you got a push start button here, and that lights up all your different screens. So you've got a big, I think it's a 10-inch screen in front of the driver here, and it has all your information, how much fuel you've got, your range, your speed, everything like that. Then the screen here has your sat nav. It's also compatible with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which is the bee's knees. If it connects to them, then happy days. And the touch is relatively good. It has its own maps as well. You've got your radio, and it's all here on buttons, which I really like. You can just hit the buttons really quick. Then down here, you've got your climate control. Again, the button theme continues, which is really, really, really important. And heated seats, everything like that. Under here, you've got a 12-volt socket and a USB point, which plugs into your Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Wireless charging, that's obviously an upgrade, but it is really nice. You've got a series of buttons down here, which are mostly to do with driving, so we'll talk about that when we go for a drive. And I do like the drive select here. They've gone very similar, actually, kind of to something like a Seat Leon or a Volkswagen Golf, except it's kind of recessed down into the center console, and that's how you put it in drive and in reverse, etc. Two cup holders, small bit of storage in here. If I was to pick One thing that's a little bit annoying is this doesn't slide forward and stay up, so it's kind of a little bit too low. It's really nitpicking, but when it slides forward in something like a Volkswagen Group car, you can lift it up and then it just sits a little bit nicer. You get that perfect position. You've got a glove box here. Again, nothing special, just another glove box. Storage in here for a drink holder. And that is it as a whole. The seats, really, really comfortable. You can completely adjust them exactly how you like. And in here, it feels very, very premium. It actually feels like a post 30,000 euro car, and here we are sitting in it at about 28 grand. So very, very impressed with it. And I'll let Bob show you his, and then we'll both go for a little drive.
So this is the interior of the new Clio, or well, the updated Clio. And this one has a good big heavy door, and actually the door can handle a bottle that size in it, so it's quite a big little door pocket that's in it. Now this is the E-Tech one, so this is a hybrid, so you do get an automatic gearbox, and it is powered by a 1.6 litre petrol engine out front, and then you have a little electric motor in here as well. It's somewhere between mild hybrid and full hybrid. It does work in EV mode sometimes, depends on what's going on. Start stop button up here at the top. I wouldn't be a great big fan of these card things that Renault has, but they've had them for years. Some people love them, people don't like them. You hear that engine out in front, and now the air conditioner's cooked in as well. So there's single zone climate control on this, a good big touch screen in the middle of the car, which has Apple CarPlay built in and Android Auto built in. The handbrake is down here. It's all laid out like it should be, and it's a good seating position. Everything feels really good, particularly the steering wheel, which has got a really heavy leathery feel about it. It's quite a hefty thing. There's an electronic dashboard with a semi-physical dashboard around it as well, so the center of it is electronic here in the middle. One thing I do like, when Apple CarPlay is running, you set a destination, the destination actually comes up on your dashboard as well, so it's actually built into the front here as well. Seat position's good, it's a nice place to be, it's a lovely cabin, it's very bright, feels kind of, it's hard to explain, like space age or futuristic somehow with that kind of white on the dashboard there. It's very, very nice little dashboard to lie out. And let's have a little look in the back seat and make sure it all works back there too. I love the door position. The handles on the doors on the outside are lovely. It looks like a 3-door, but it's actually a 5-door. Now this has quite a small little back seat. There isn't much room between me and the driver's seat here, and these windows are so heavily tinted that it's actually quite dark back here in the back seat as well. You will fit, because of the ISOFIX, 2 full child seats here in the back. You won't fit a third person in the middle of that. It'll be very, very tight, but you might fit a child in the center. There is a center seat belt back here, and that's about it. No 12-volt sockets, no USB ports, no nothing, just some seat backs. Good for a small family, but for a 29,000 euro car, I'd expect some accessories back here.
In the rear of the Mokka, the door opens nice and wide. However, it is a little bit of a narrow entrance, so getting that child seat in might be a little bit challenging. That said, the ISOFIX points are easily accessible, and I really like these zips actually. I think that's a nice touch. Now, as you sit in, the seat in front of me here is in my normal driving position, and there's not a ton of knee space, to be completely honest. Headroom is decent, however, as a whole in here it is a little bit dark. In terms of creature comforts, well, you've got some storage here, 2 USB charging points, really like that. That'll keep the kids nice and occupied with their phones nicely charged. And that's about it. There's not even an armrest for your Mokka.
So I read this on grouprenault.com. The trunk volume is not amputated by the batteries. 300 litre boot. The rear seat remains foldable, and the space for the spare wheel is preserved. Would you believe in all of that somewhere there is a 300 litre boot in here?
Bob, that's all well and good, except your boot has been amputated of its spare wheel.
It is. There is no spare wheel.
There's no spare wheel.
No spare wheel.
Well, funny enough, I'm trying to open this because that's the obvious place.
And being dead honest, everyone, you're going to have to explain this, everyone is going to do the same thing. They're going to stick their fingers underneath that.
And then they're going to think it's a switch inside, but there's a magic switch under here.
And it's the same on this, there's another switch underneath here that opens the boot as well.
Now, the boot in this is much better than your baguette. You've only got 300 litres, 350 in the cappuccino.
You could get a bigger cappuccino in yours than mine, yes, for sure. And I have a massive step into mine.
Likewise, so do I. Seats, they fold 60-40 split, just like every other car. And I have to say,
you have I have them as well.
I have also been amputated.
Yours is amputated. I have a very worrying sort of heat shieldy thing and some battery stuff and a compressor and a jack and things, but no spare wheel.
Yeah, no, that's the way it's going. And I really don't like that because, to be honest, on a late night winter's drive, if you're waiting even for the roadside assistance, you could be there an hour or two.
Yep.
One thing I have just noticed here is that the seats have almost like a zip cover. So I'm thinking maybe if your children were to spill something in the rear, you can maybe take them off and wash it, or maybe replace them. That's a really nice touch.
It is, yeah. And you can do your top tethers back here as well. You have the better boot, actually better access to the boot as well. It's a really big. If you were lifting something heavy here, you'd really have to bend over to get down that step.
And that's why I think a little bit more boot space when you go for the SUV over the hatchback.
Yeah.
Right.
Still open.
Now my door will be locked. Look, my door's locked. It's locked again. You could lock it in there.
His locks are like sporadic locks.
You have to walk away from the car and then walk back into the car.
Yeah, look at that. It's like resetting it every time. God, I miss normal keys.
So when it comes to driving the Opel Mokka, first of all I want to discuss driving an SUV over driving a hatchback, and then I'll talk more specifically about the Mokka or the Mokka, depending on how you want to pronounce it. So the thing about an SUV is, on these kind of bumpier roads, I'd spend a lot of time on the Cavan roads, and the SUVs are always a little bit nicer. They float over them. The suspension generally has larger travel, which means they're a little bit smoother, whereas the hatchback around town is the winner. Now, the other thing about an SUV is, I actually don't know if this is true or not, but I feel like it certainly gives off a bulkier feel, a little bit safer, a little bit more solid on the road than a small little hatchback. The trade-off to that, and Bob will definitely be telling you this, is that his baguette handles phenomenally. The hatchbacks drive, honestly I don't think anything drives as enjoyably as a hatchback, particularly Renault actually with the Clio, really good job of that. This has a little bit more of a kind of augmented drive. You definitely don't feel as connected with the road, but then again, that's the price you pay to be a little bit higher and to have a bit more road presence. Now, specifically the Mokka or the Mokka, we're gonna go with Mokka. So the Mokka drives actually really well. It is littered with driving aids. So you got blind spot monitoring in your mirrors, so if there's something that you can't see, it'll light up in orange and you'll know not to change lane. This also has lane assist, adaptive cruise control, the list goes on. It's really well equipped, and you could be in any premium car and you wouldn't notice. Even these paddles here, so this automatic version comes with these paddle shifters so you can change gear, and they've got like a nice aluminium feel. They're really premium, and the whole car feels like that. Another thing when you're driving it is this particular one has the 1.2 litre, the 3-cylinder, which we spoke about, and it's a really good setup. It comes with 108 horsepower and 128 horsepower, I think. And the bigger power, obviously it just makes more sense. It's a bit of a bigger car. It is also available in diesel, 1.5 diesel. We had that engine in the Crossland. A good engine, but again, don't know if you need it, only if you're driving kind of warrants it. And then there's also the Mokka E, which is, of course, fully electric. Now that actually looks to be a really good car. I haven't test drove it myself, but it's got a 50 kilowatt hour battery. I think the range is about 320 kilometers. That should be quite impressive, particularly if you're doing a lot of kind of around town driving. Now, in terms of everything else, it runs smoothly. The suspension's really soft. It floats over any potholes, any big bumps. This one has 18-inch wheels, so it actually doesn't really kind of compromise the ride too much. There is still big, chunky tires. And as a whole, it's a lovely place to be. It definitely feels more expensive than it is, and it's vibrant, and I'd be happy out doing a long drive in this.
So this is the Renault Clio, and of course with a Clio you get a certain amount that you expect. So I expect good handling in the Clio because it's a small hatchback and they make a hot hatch as well, so they know what they're doing. There is RS models and things to choose from. Now this, of course, is meant to be the environmentally friendly one, which is hybrid. And you might be able to hear on the mic, I doubt it though, is the engine cutting in and out. So there's a 1.6 litre petrol engine under the bonnet, and there's also a little motor in the back of the car as well, which pushes the car forward, and it can drive in EV mode. It doesn't do it very often, but it can do it. You can see a battery charge and discharge on the dashboard here as it charges up the car, but there's no way of plugging it in, so this is just a straight up hybrid. And for this price, I would expect it to feel like a better car than it actually is. It does feel just like an ordinary Clio, slightly heavier. And I mean slightly heavier because there's batteries in the boot. It feels like there's something in the boot all along. Acceleration wise, there's very little. I don't expect there to be a lot. It's not meant to be a hot hatch, it's meant to be an economical hatch. They claim they can go from 60 to 120 kilometers an hour in about 7 seconds. Don't know why that's their figures that they want to put on it, because, well, that doesn't really make sense. You want to know what the 60 time is. That's more like 11 seconds in this car. And it's kind of a weird feeling. There's a weird deceleration feeling as the engine pulls through the gearbox to do its job, and I don't know why it has that kind of weird feeling that goes with it. And that's it. Power is gone now. Once it changes gear, it roars up the hill. Now, for around town work, I can see the benefit of this car because obviously it's a hybrid. It'll do its job pretty well. You do get Apple CarPlay and Android Auto built into it as well. There's tons of stuff in that sat-nav to do. There's loads of entertainment features. It is a full automatic as well, so you can have the engine braking part as well. It's just got a lot of stuff, but I want more, and I still think actually David's Mokka is a bit better than this. So Clio's really good. If I was looking at this Clio, I would go to the other end of the Clio range. They are good value. There's plenty of room in them. You will have 5 doors. You will get your mates in the back seat. It does all that, but this one at the top end of the range, this 29 grand Clio, just doesn't make a lot of sense when there's plug-in hybrids and electric cars are there that you can have. That, you know, look at the Zoe if you want to look at electric cars in the middle of it. These hybrid ones, they have a very specific factor to them. But against the Mokka, I think the Mokka is a slightly better buy. Mine plays theme music getting out.
It does it?
It does.
Well, Bob, what's your conclusion?
This is too expensive.
But you don't have to have it that expensive.
No, you don't, because it starts at 17.5-ish, give or take, on the road price. So if I was buying something at 17.5 grand, I can see why I would want this one and why I wouldn't want this one. But if you're going at this level at 29,000 euros,
it's stunning.
It's much nicer. It's lovely to look at. Looks well on the road. Looks great in the rearview mirror.
It's lovely to drive as well.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, very, very impressed. It's got a nice automatic 8-speed gearbox, really smooth. It's got loads of punch, actually, to be fair. It's really enjoyable to drive.
And then you have nicer seats and in the interior. I know the red's a bit chintzy, but
I like it.
It's
a
cool.
character.
It's cool. This is lovely. If you want to buy an entry-level thing that is reasonably priced, manual gearbox, buy the entry-level version of this car. If you're looking at 29,000 euros for a Clio, it's a scary price for a Clio, right?
I know, but even leaving the cars aside, the concept, small hatch, small SUV, personally, I think it depends where you're driving. If you're doing a lot of rural driving, the extra clearance in the suspension is actually quite nice.
We've proved that here today.
But it is a bit bigger.
Yeah.
So if you're out there and you're maybe driving through cities, the Clio or a smaller car for that.
I like the elevated seating position, particularly on rural roads. When you're driving on corners, you're trying to get by other cars and see traffic, see the corners straight. Just that little elevated driving position. That these are, let's say, learner drivers.
Brilliant.
Retired individuals will love this thing. You know, that's that kind of car. But
very manoeuvrable, easy to park. Yeah, smaller.
They're really
cars.
good handling. Really good handling in that car, and the seats are okay in them too. But just the price is scary when you think of a Clio at 30,000 euros. It sounds a bit too much for me.
Well, there you go. That is another review here with Bob Flavin. A huge thanks to Bob for joining us, bringing the Clio. 2 excellent cars, and it just shows that both the hatchback and of course the small SUV still have a purpose in today's world. We hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching. If you have, make sure to subscribe, leave us a comment, ask myself or Bob any questions, and until then, we'll see you in the next one.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Ciao Bella. Yes, it opened!
It opened first time, finally.